welcome to another episode of Sequin Girly Creates. Sorry it's a bit dark in here. I have tried to do everything I can, but okay, this is the best I can do, sewing friends, until I get my light. So welcome. Today is another episode where I'm going to talk you through, this isn't a pattern this time. Last time was the Seasons of East Summer in New York pattern. This time it is how to create this, but it is based on a pattern block for a well-known pattern, and I'm going to talk you through that. I've got one there, and one I'm wearing as well, so it's definitely a pattern I know well. So this is based on a block from the Tilly and the Buttons Freya top, and I'm going to talk about how you can take that on a journey to create a twist front, and it's in directional pieces, and it's a stretch jersey dress. I'll stand up so you can see. So I've got the twist front here, plain back but larger scoop this time. The version up there has no sleeves, and this version here has 3/4 length sleeves. I will put pictures in so you can see the different ones, and at the end as well. So I'm going to talk that through with you. Hope this is useful to you. Now, I just need to say at this point, if you are not a big fan of tracing, you're not going to love me for this one, because the first thing I'm going to need you to do is trace off the basic top shape, the bodice, the front and the back, for the Tilly and the Buttons Freya or a similar top. Now, if you don't know the Tilly and the Buttons Freya, I will put a picture in here, but it's a basic top. It has a slightly shaped waist, very close fitting sleeves, and you can have like a turtleneck or a roll neck. So it's a perfect winter / autumn layering item. But what I find with a top like that is once you've found the fit that works for you and got it just right, you can then use it to develop. So you need to find either Tilly and the Buttons, which is in the stretch book, the Freya top, or a similar top that is designed for a jersey over the head style bodice. You will need to trace that. Now, I on this occasion used brown packing paper that I use for wrapping paper these days. I don't buy printed wrapping paper, and I traced off the basic. So for the front it's a half and the back it's a half, because it's cut on the fold. Once you have those two pieces traced, don't worry too much about the neckline at this point. You know that you can then extend that down to the length that you want. So you will end up with, and I will put a picture in, a top that then, once you've done the curve for the shape, curves round, and in the pattern for the block I use, it has a curve for that, and then goes straight down. Now you might want to tailor it in slightly as you come towards your calf area, but you will end up with a very large half of a front and a very large half of the back. There's no darts, nothing needed. You just need to create those two pieces. Whether you do them out of bits of newspaper, so whether you create those out of like tracing, brown paper, whatever you need, but that's what you need. So number one step in creating these tie front jersey dresses, which all four of these are created from, is creating this pattern block, which is a half long for the front and a half long for the back. Now, I can tell you that's the best way to do it, because I did it differently to start with and then didn't have a good arm shape based on what I traced and was struggling a bit, and I went back and I then overlaid the Freya top. So I've done all the errors and all the working out for you. So do that. You will then end up with your long piece. You then need to cut it at the waist, or where you want the tie to be. So for me, it's just above my natural waist. So I will stand up and show you. So if you look here, this is where my seam is. So it's nearly empire. So my natural waist is here and it's here. So this is where you're going to cut the bodice away from the skirt part. So then you'll have four pieces. You'll have the half bodice top, the skirt bottom, the half bodice back, and the half skirt back. The back you just take away, and you don't need to do anything with that, because that And actually, feeling the back, I left that as one whole piece. So you can decide. That will be cut exactly the same every time. So when we look at this one, the back is the same as this back, is the same as that back, is the same as that back. They are exactly the same. You might say, but hang on, that neck is lower than that and different to that. Don't worry about that, because I would say do it to the higher neck like the Freya, and we can worry about that later. So put your back away to one side. The only thing you might want to decide on your back is the direction of whatever the print is. Put it away. We're dealing with the front. You will need to make now a repeat of your front piece. So you've got 2 front bodice pieces separately. So originally it was cut on the fold, now you're going to make yourself a repeat. And then, now this is the tricky bit. I decided to do it over to one side. So if you're doing it down the middle, you will make them identical. If you're doing it to the side, you might have one smaller than the other. Now you might say, what are you talking about, Sam? So let's go back and think about it again. Look at my dress front. You want a whole front, ignoring the sleeves, a whole front bodice piece and skirt, and then you're going to create a line here, 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 wherever you want it, because this is where the choice comes in. So if you look, my line is off center. Let me get close. Wider here than here. The same on this one here. This is slimmer than this one. So if I put my hand across my boob, that's that size and that is smaller. That is up to you, because it depends on how much symmetry you like, where you want the knot. So you will end up with a left bodice piece, a right bodice piece, a left skirt and a right skirt. But you want to be sure that the line runs up. Okay? So now you've got 4 pieces to play with. Now you might think, whoa, but I will put some videos in about how I learned to do this. But what I'm doing is taking away all the trial and error for you and helping you to get this right first go. Each piece has now got to be opened up to create extra fabric, because to create this knot, we need extra fabric. So if you look, this skirt piece is into the knot, this skirt piece in the knot, this piece and this piece. So to do that, and there's a brilliant video that shows you how to do that, you end up spreading this piece of skirt. So you're going, whoa, what's this weird shape here? Don't worry, because I want you to now look, when I fold this back on itself and fold this back on itself, we get back to the original skirt piece. Let's take the top. If I fold these white pieces away, a little bit of origami here for you. Look at what happens when the white pieces go away. We're back to the original top. So I'm not going to explain in this video how to do this splaying. I will put it in below. I just use bits of paper behind mine, but what I want you to picture to help you understand is we've got to open up the bodice where the knot will be, open up the skirt where the knot will be, because we need extra fabric to go in there. And that's the bit I couldn't find in any of the videos. I could see lots of videos on how to splay it, but what I couldn't do is picture why. So why is because when we fold these up, look, they get back to their shape and we've got the material for the knot. Okay, so here I am having splayed each of the parts. There is a little rub pull there. Let me zoom out for you so you can see the whole dress. So you can see if they were folded back under like folds, it would re-meet together. So now I've drawn on the direction of the stripes. That's the blue lines. The stripes are going to go that way there, vertical there, horizontal there. Zoom in for you. Horizontal there, and like an oblique towards the centre on that one. Let's see how this goes. So you will have 4 pieces, your left and right front bodice with the splay, and the same for your left and right skirt front pieces. At that point, when you've got your pieces, you need to make decisions about direction. So I actually, for my first one, drew it on because I was worried about forgetting. So I drew that one at a slope, I drew that one going vertically, I do that one going horizontally originally, and so on. It's up to you how you remember that. In this dress, it didn't matter. So they all got placed on the fabric in the same way because the direction wasn't relevant. On this one, you can see that I angled the piece onto the fabric like this to get the oblique angle. I laid this one to get it horizontal. I did this piece, skirt piece vertical, and this skirt piece oblique. If I grab this version, you can see I played with it differently here. I went with this and this sloping and this one. I went with angles all over because something about that side didn't quite work. So you can see I did it differently on this one. It creates a really interesting effect here. Look at that, look. So that's the fun of this. If you're using a directional jersey print, now on this one, it doesn't notice. The one I've got up here, this one here was all about the border, and then the flower I chose twisted in. So I will put pictures so you can see that, but I was really thinking about the placement, and this gives you the fun to think what will be in the knot. So then cut out all your pieces. So you're not worrying about sleeves and you're not worrying about your neckline shape at this point. So you will have cut out 4 front pieces and your 1 or 2, depending on my back pieces. Once you've got those, but what you're doing is creating a hole that one of the side feeds through. So you actually stitch several of them together and then you feed the others through. So the knot is actually created by taking one of the pieces and feeding it through the other one. So it's not really joining into a twist, it's not being tied into a knot. You're taking one side of the fabric and the other side and you feed it through. Okay, so you have skirt piece 1 and 2, bodice 1 and 2. You will notice there's a long line and a short line on each one. As I talked about before, you've got a wider part and a thinner part. You don't have to do it that way, but remember I did my line over and that my waist is above my natural waist. So now we're going to do our first stitching together. So we want these 2 short parts and you're going to fold them over right sides together so that the 2 short parts are matching, and you're going to stitch across the short part. So again, fold that over and make sure you've got your short part there and stitch the short parts together. Okay, so right now they look odd, but don't worry, because when we join these together, suddenly you get back to the shape you're expecting. So when we join these together, so don't worry about that. And also ignore the top shape there, because this is just me showing you this area here. So what we're going to do now is join this top to this bottom, the larger one. If you've got them equal, you can choose one, but we've got to leave a hole here. So we're going to stitch here and leave a hole here. Now mine's a mini version to show you. On yours that hole would be still sort of about 2 centimeters, but I've got a mini version here to show you. This is what I was talking about with threading one through the other. So I'm going to stitch this and show you the threading. Okay, so this piece is now stitched, and it will not sit fully well because of the fact that you've got the 2 different shapes, and remember ultimately this is going to pull here. So we've got the hole here, and what we're going to do is take this one and thread it through the hole, and this is what helps us now to create the pull. So you want it face up,
And can you see now, look at that already, you can see, so that bit there is going to join together, but can you already see how we're creating that twist? Look at that, that twist front there. So what you're going to do next is stitch those long pieces together on that one. And when you stitch those together, look, you can see it there now, what you saw on the inside of the one I'll show you that I've made. And when you look at that, you've got the twist front shape. There's still bits to do. You've still got the front piece there to stitch together and there, but you can see exactly what I'm talking about, how the thread through is what creates the twist front. So hopefully that's a good mini explanation for you, but don't forget there is links below to other videos where I found how to do this. And that's what creates the pull effect. I will turn this one, just flip this to inside here. It is pretty straightforward. I did almost every single bit on the serger apart from a little bit of the stitching here at the end. So now you've got your front pieces stitched together. You can then do your shoulder, shoulder, side, sides. So it's serging. So again, it's serging at the front and serging at the sides and serging at the shoulders, or overlocking, whatever you call it. If you've got Marflex, you can do it that way. So there's plenty of ways you can stitch them together. What I found was I then had a bit of bagging at the back. So I then just re-stitched in the curve, because that's the great thing about jersey. Particularly if you're using overlocker, just do it again, get a bit more of a curve. So now you have your basic twist front dress, minus sleeves, minus any collar adjustments. On this one, that's where I stayed. I just twin needled a turned over collar and twin needled a turned over sleeve and twin needled a turned over base. But if you've seen my Seasons of East review, pattern review, you will know that actually with certain jerseys I would just leave these bits, because I would just leave them because they just naturally perfectly edge. I've done that on this one. There's nothing on this, just taken the natural roll as the edge. I have twin needled the top and I've left the bottom on this one as well. So you can have choice about how you finish those edges, but you might say, hang on a minute, that neckline is different to that neckline. How did you do that with your basic block? This one started like this, and what I did once I'd got everything constructed was I got out a dinner plate and I laid a dinner plate on and drew a line to get the lovely curve, cut it out and then finished my edge. I did the same for the green stripe one, and the one up here I cut a V on it, and so I just cut down to a V, and I actually, let me get it. This one again started like this. I then cut a V in at the front, left the back the same, and I put some ribbing in for the neckline, and this ribbing is some softer jersey so it matches with this. Here you can see the twist with the flower. So you can choose how to finish, and I just felt that pulled in the red from the bottom. This one again, I haven't finished the edge. I don't think it needs it at the bottom. But we haven't done sleeves. So this one, sleeveless, because I like that one that way, and it shows off my tattoo. This one I did a sort of t-shirt length sleeve, and the other one I've done a 3/4 length sleeve. So you're like, but where did you get the sleeve from? Well, guess what? I went back to that original pattern, the Tilly and the Buttons Freya, and I used the sleeve from that because I've done a long sleeve, so I know it fits me well round here, and I just adjusted the length to cut it to the length I wanted. So I took the same sleeve block and just cut a different length depending on which one I want. So as you can see, the same sleeve block created a 3/4 length and a t-shirt length, and you could even go up to this length if you wanted, which actually I think might be better on this one. So using that original pattern, you can then create the sleeve that you want. Some final tips for you is, after you've done all the sergering and joining,
You will want to go with a sewing machine in here to get tight into the knot, so you don't end up with a hole that stretches out, or that the threads come undone, or that becomes exposing. So you can't get all the way in there with your serger, your overlocker, if you use one. So you will need to go back in either hand stitch or with a sewing machine. Other tip, on the original one that I made, this one, where I followed a YouTube, I did do this sort of split that they show. I hated it. Very disappointed. I hated the way it affected the fabric. I hated the way it hangs. I hate the way it does weird turnouts on the way I did around the corner. And for me personally, I don't think that's a flattering length. However, this one is a perfect winter one. So with tights on, it's all forgiving. But after this one, I just did straight down and across. Much happier with that. But you might find that you want to do a slit up the side. And this is the great thing, that once you've created, and this was my first one, once you've created one, I think this was my first one actually, you can start to play with it. Yes, this was the first, because I made that mistake with this here. It looks nice when it's like this here, but in reality when I put it on, I don't like it. But look at the evolution. So this was my first. I then did another one with a straight down hem across the bottom and no sleeve. Then I did a third one with a crop sleeve, a straight down hem, and then a fourth one which is sleeveless V-neck. You can really evolve the pattern, and I would love you to have a go, because there's so many things you can do. You could do a side split like the jersey one I showed you with the Seasons of East dress. You could really even add, with pattern scraps, more than one jersey fabric. I've only done one, but just imagine a bit of this one combined with this, or a bit of plain pink. You could play around with scraps. You can move this, because once you've made one block, you could always make it again and move the twist further over or right to the side. So once you've built your confidence and had a go, you can really start to evolve it. I hope this has been helpful. I really encourage you to have a go. It's great because you can really personalise your clothes, and also really play with some amazing patterns. This fabric and this fabric is from By Grazelia. I'll put the link in below, and they're such gorgeous fabrics. This just really brings that out in them. So do have a go, because guess what? If it goes wrong, you never have to show anyone, and you can just make yourself some knickers or a t-shirt or something with it. But I promise you, this is not the end. I'm thinking about how to just do a twist front skirt now and just a twist front top. I know there's lots of patterns out there, but I think this worked perfectly for me based on a pattern I already had, so I didn't need to spend any money on an extra pattern. Have a great week, and I will see you soon.